Welcome, the anointed ones. Pay close attention. The people who talk about you the most are often the people who understand you the least. There is a strange phenomenon that happens in life, and most people never notice it. The people who constantly seek attention usually struggle to keep it, while the people who quietly mind their own business somehow become unforgettable. The loudest person in the room is rarely the most interesting. In fact, human psychology reveals something fascinating. The less information people have about someone, the more their minds work overtime trying to fill in the blanks. Mystery creates stories, distance creates fascination, silence creates assumptions. That brings us to a truth many of you have lived but never fully understood. Some of you are not isolated because people dislike you. Quite the opposite. You have become the person everyone watches from afar. The person whose name enters conversations even when you are not present. The person people secretly study while pretending not to care. And here is where it gets interesting. The very thing that attracts people to you is often the same thing that frustrates them. They cannot figure you out. You do not operate the way most people do. You do not seem desperate for validation. You do not constantly advertise your every move. You do not hand people a complete instruction manual explaining who you are. And because of that, they are left with something many people find unbearable: uncertainty. Now, let us add a little humor to this. Some people have built entire documentaries about your life inside their heads. They have created theories, sequels, plot twists and bonus episodes without ever speaking to you for more than 5 minutes. Meanwhile, you are probably at home trying to decide what to eat or wondering why your phone battery drains so fast. But beneath the humor lies something deeper. Your presence forces people to confront things about themselves they would rather avoid. Your independence challenges their dependence. Your peace exposes their chaos. Your ability to stand alone highlights their fear of being alone. That is why admiration and irritation often travel together when it comes to people like you. In this message, we are going to uncover the hidden psychology behind why people love you from a distance, why your energy stays on their minds long after you have left the room, and why your aura creates reactions that even they cannot explain. Some of these truths may surprise you. Others may finally put words to experiences you have carried for years. Stay with me, because what you are about to hear goes far deeper than being a loner. It reveals why your very existence has become unforgettable. Number 1. Here is the elaboration. The version of you they enjoy most is the one they invented. One of the most uncomfortable truths you will ever discover is that many people are not reacting to who you are. They are reacting to who they think you are. The difference between those two things is often enormous. When people only know fragments of your life, their minds automatically begin filling in the missing pieces. They see your confidence and assume you never struggle. They see your solitude and assume you possess secret knowledge. They see your self-control and assume you have everything figured out. What they do not realize is that they are no longer looking at you. They are looking at a character they created. This is why some people admire you most from a distance. Distance gives imagination room to grow. The less access people have to your reality, the easier it becomes for them to turn you into whatever they need you to be. To some, you become the wise loner. To others, you become the untouchable success story. To others, you become the mysterious person who somehow has all the answers. The funny part is that while they are busy writing legends about your life, you are dealing with the same human problems everyone else faces. You are handling responsibilities, overcoming doubts, learning lessons, making mistakes, and trying to navigate life one day at a time. But reality is rarely as exciting as fantasy. And fantasy is often what people become attached to. This is why some relationships change the moment people get closer to you. At first, they are fascinated. They project greatness onto you. They assign qualities to you that you never claimed to possess. Then one day, they discover that you are human. You get tired, you have flaws, You have opinions they did not expect. You do not always fit the role they wrote for you. And that is where disappointment enters the picture. Not because you changed, but because their fantasy collapsed. The truth is, some people do not miss who you are. They miss the version of you they imagined. They do not mourn reality. They mourn the story they created in their own mind. That is why the loner often remains unforgettable. People continue carrying their personal version of you long after they have stopped interacting with the real person. In the end, the most powerful thing about your presence is not what you reveal. It is much space you leave for others to reveal themselves through the stories they create about you. If this is landing somewhere real for you right now, take a moment to like this video as a small acknowledgement of what is being named here. Subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification bell so that the rest of this kind of clarity finds you when you need it. And go to the link in the pinned comment below. By sewing into this mission, you are helping carry this kind of honest psychology to people who have spent years feeling misunderstood without language for why. What you give comes back to you as the very clarity you are receiving right now. The link is pinned. Give when you feel moved and then stay because there is more ahead. Number 2. Your absence gives people more to talk about than your presence. One of the strangest realities of human nature is that people often become more interested in someone after they leave than when they are standing right in front of them. It sounds backwards, but it happens every day. When you are present, people can see you, hear you, and place you neatly into their understanding of the world. But when you are gone, something unexpected happens. Questions begin to form. Curiosity wakes up. Assumptions start multiplying. Most people underestimate the power of absence because they think influence comes from constant visibility. They believe they must always be posting, talking, explaining, proving, and reminding people they exist. Yet some of the most unforgettable people operate differently. Their impact grows when they are nowhere to be found. The reason is simple. Human beings are naturally drawn to unfinished stories. When someone reveals everything about themselves, there is very little left to wonder about. But when someone leaves gaps, people cannot resist trying to fill them. They start asking questions they never asked before. They begin connecting dots that may not even exist. That is why your name can enter conversations even when you never put it there. Someone mentions seeing you somewhere. Another person wonders what you are doing these days. Someone else claims they heard something about your life before long. An entire discussion is happening, and you are not even in the room. The fascinating part is that many of these conversations reveal more about the people having them than they reveal about you. People project their own beliefs into the empty spaces. Those who admire you create positive stories. Those who envy you create negative ones. Those who are confused by you create theories. Those who miss you create memories. Everyone fills the silence differently. What makes this so powerful is that you are not forcing any of it. You are not campaigning for attention. You are not demanding relevance. Your absence creates a vacuum and human nature rushes to fill it. That is why some people can spend years trying to stay noticed and still be forgotten. While a quiet loner can leave a room, disappear for weeks, and somehow become the most discussed person in it. Real presence is not measured by how loudly you announce yourself. It is measured by how deeply your existence lingers after you have gone. Before we go further into the next truths, I want to pause here for a moment. You are still reading, and that itself says something about how much this is meeting you where you are. This space exists to put language to the kind of solitude many people carry without ever having it named. If this has been doing that for you today, consider going to the link in the pinned comment below. Give what feels right. A coffee, a small offering, anything at all. Because what you sow into a mission that reaches people who have felt unseen in their independence comes back to you as more of the clarity you are finding here. The link is pinned. Give if your heart says yes, and then keep reading. Number 3. People are disturbed by someone who does not need constant witnesses. One of the rarest forms of power in today's world is the ability to enjoy your own life without needing an audience to approve it. That may sound simple, but it quietly challenges one of the biggest addictions many people have. The addiction to being seen. A lot of people do not realize how much of their confidence depends on witnesses. They feel successful when others notice. They feel important when others react. They feel valuable when others applaud. Their sense of self rises and falls based on attention. The problem is that attention is temporary. It comes and goes when it disappears. Many people are left wondering who they are without it. Then they encounter someone like you, someone who can spend time alone without feeling lonely, someone who can make progress without announcing every step, someone who can enjoy a victory without needing a crowd to celebrate it, someone who can disappear from public view and still remain completely comfortable. For certain people, this is fascinating. For others, it is deeply disturbing. Not because you have done anything wrong, but because your behavior raises questions they do not want to ask themselves. If you can be content without constant validation, what does that say about their dependence on it? If you can build a meaningful life without everyone's approval, why have they spent so much energy chasing it? Your independence becomes an unintentional mirror. The truth is, many people have never been alone long enough to meet themselves. Silence makes them uncomfortable. Solitude feels like punishment. The moment distractions disappear, they are forced to face thoughts they have been avoiding. That is why they fill every empty moment with noise, activity, and company. You represent the opposite. You show that being alone and being abandoned are not the same thing. You show that peace can exist without popularity. You show that self-worth can come from within instead of from outside applause. And that creates a strange reaction. People admire your freedom while secretly feeling challenged by it. They respect your independence while wondering if they could ever achieve it themselves. The Loner King is not powerful because everyone is watching. The Loner King is powerful because he remains the same whether anyone is watching or not. In a world obsessed with visibility, that kind of self-sufficiency feels almost rebellious. And that is exactly why people cannot stop thinking about it. Number 4. You accidentally expose people's hidden motives. One of the most misunderstood things about being a loner is that people assume you are observing everyone else, when in reality you are usually just minding your own business. Yet somehow, despite saying less and doing less, you end up learning more about people than those who spend all day trying to read them. The reason is surprisingly simple. When people cannot easily influence you, control you, impress you, or distract you, their true intentions eventually rise to the surface. What remains hidden around others becomes visible around you. Many people rely on reactions. They expect praise when they show off. They expect attention when they create drama. They expect approval when they tell certain stories. But when they encounter someone who is not easily pulled into these games, something unusual happens. Their mask starts slipping. A person who is genuinely kind remains kind whether they are being rewarded for it or not. A person who is secretly competitive eventually reveals it when they stop getting the recognition they expected. A person who is jealous cannot hide that feeling forever when your success continues to bother them. A manipulative person becomes frustrated when their usual tactics stop working. You do not expose them because you are investigating them. You expose them because your presence removes the distractions they normally hide behind. This is why some people become strangely uncomfortable around you. They cannot understand why they feel exposed. You have said nothing. You have accused them of nothing. Yet, they feel seen in a way they cannot explain. The truth is that silence creates space, and in that space, people often reveal themselves. Some reveal loyalty, some reveal envy, some reveal admiration, some reveal insecurity. What is fascinating is that many people tell on themselves without realizing it. They reveal their character through their reactions, not their words, through what bothers them, through what excites them, through how they respond when they gain nothing from a situation. The loner often notices this because distance provides clarity. When you are not desperate to be accepted, you are free to observe what others are desperately trying to hide. That is why your aura can make people uneasy. It is not because you are judging them. It is not because you possess some supernatural ability. It is because authentic people naturally create an environment where pretenses become difficult to maintain around you. People eventually meet themselves. And for some, that is a far more uncomfortable experience than meeting you. Number 5. The less you perform, the more powerful you appear. One of the biggest secrets people eventually learn in life is that true power rarely announces itself. It does not need a spotlight. It does not need a microphone. It does not need a daily reminder to convince everyone that it exists. The people who are constantly trying to prove how important they are often reveal the exact opposite. This is why your presence creates such a strong reaction. You are living in a world where many people feel pressured to perform. They perform confidence even when they feel insecure. They perform happiness even when they are struggling. They perform success before they have actually achieved it. Every day becomes a presentation, and every interaction becomes an opportunity to manage how others see them. Then, they encounter someone who does not seem interested in the performance. Someone who is not constantly explaining themselves. Someone who is not trying to win every argument. Someone who is not advertising every achievement. Someone who does not seem desperate to control people's opinions. That kind of person immediately stands out. Not because they are louder, but because they are quieter. And that quietness creates curiosity. I want to stop here for a moment before we go into the second half of this list. You have stayed through 5 of these truths, and that says something about how much you have been looking for the language to describe your own experience. This space was built to reach people who carry this kind of quiet independence and rarely hear it explained out loud. If something here has been that explanation for you today, go to the link in the pinned comment below. Give what feels right. A coffee, a small offering, anything at all. Because what you sow into a mission that reaches people who have lived this experience without words for it, comes back to you as the very recognition you are finding here. The link is pinned. Give freely and then stay for the rest. People start paying attention because they sense something unusual. They are used to people chasing approval. They are used to people demanding recognition. They are used to people trying to impress them. When you do not participate in that game, you become difficult to read. The human mind has a strange habit. It often assigns greater value to things that do not beg for attention. People naturally trust strength that does not need constant proof. They respect confidence that does not need constant validation. What makes this even more fascinating is that your refusal to perform forces others to reveal how much they are performing. The contrast becomes impossible to ignore. While others are busy building an image, you appear focused on building a life. That difference speaks volumes. Many people spend years trying to manufacture an aura of importance. Meanwhile, genuine presence comes from being comfortable enough not to manufacture anything at all. The loner king understands something that many never learn. The strongest tree in the forest does not spend its life announcing how tall it is. It simply grows. The mountain does not wake up every morning trying to convince everyone that it is a mountain. Its existence is proof enough. That is why the less you chase attention, the more attention finds you. The less you try to appear powerful, the more powerful you seem. And in a world filled with performances, authenticity becomes the rarest and most unforgettable presence of all. Number 6. Some people secretly compete with a version of you that does not even exist. One of the most misunderstood forms of human emotion is how people compare themselves to others. Most assume they are competing with reality. But in many cases, they are competing with imagination. What they think you are doing, what they assume you have, and what they believe your life looks like becomes the standard they measure themselves against. The strange part is that this version of you is not even real. It is built from fragments, a picture they saw, a rumor they heard, a small moment they witnessed. Then their mind stretches those fragments into something larger, cleaner, and more exaggerated than your actual life. They remove your struggles. They remove your doubts. They remove your ordinary days. What remains is a polished version of you that exists only in their head, and then the competition begins. They start feeling behind someone who is not even running the race they imagine. They feel pressured by a life you are not even living. They measure their progress against a story that was never accurate in the first place. This is where things get quietly destructive, because you cannot compete with a fantasy and win. And they cannot stop comparing themselves to it. For some people, this turns into quiet frustration. They begin to feel irritated without fully understanding why. They see your name, your progress, or your presence, and it triggers something in them. Not because of what you are doing, but because of what they believe you are doing. What makes this even more complex is that you are usually just living normally. You are dealing with your own challenges, trying to figure things out like everyone else. But none of that is visible in the version they created. So while you are thinking about everyday life, someone else is mentally racing against an edited highlight reel of you. This is why misunderstandings happen so easily. People do not always respond to your real situation. They respond to their interpretation of it. And that interpretation is often shaped more by insecurity than truth. The loner effect makes this even stronger. Distance leaves more room for imagination. The less access people have to your real life, the more they fill in the gaps with assumptions. Over time, you stop being a person in their mind and start becoming a symbol. A symbol of success, confidence, mystery, or potential, depending on what they project onto you. And symbols are always easier to compete with than humans, but also more impossible to beat. Number 7. Your calmness feels like an insult to chaotic people. There is a type of discomfort that does not come from what you say, but from what you refuse to become. When you stay calm in situations where others expect noise, reaction, or emotional chaos, it creates an effect that some people do not know how to process. They are used to energy, matching energy, drama, meeting drama, pressure, producing pressure. So, when you do not respond the same way, it disrupts their internal balance. For people who live emotionally unstable lives, chaos feels normal. They are familiar with urgency, arguments, overthinking, and constant mental noise. It becomes their baseline. So when they meet someone who is steady, quiet in spirit, and not easily pulled into emotional storms, it does not just confuse them, it unsettles them. Your calmness becomes a silent contrast they cannot ignore. They expect reactions, and instead they get restraint. They expect explanations, and instead they get silence where nothing needs to be explained. They expect emotional participation, but what they receive is emotional control. And for someone who is used to pulling others into their storm, your refusal to enter it feels like rejection. Not rejection of them as a person, but rejection of their entire way of operating. This is where misinterpretation begins. Instead of seeing your calmness as self-control, some people interpret it as arrogance. Instead of seeing it as emotional maturity, they read it as detachment. Instead of recognizing it as stability, they label it as indifference, because in their internal world, peace without chaos feels unnatural, almost suspicious. The deeper truth is that calmness exposes contrast. It highlights how reactive some people are. It reveals how dependent they are on external stimulation. It shows how uncomfortable they are when things are not emotionally charged. And that reflection is not always easy for them to accept. So instead of adjusting themselves, they often try to pull you into their emotional environment. They may provoke, exaggerate situations, or create tension just to see if they can disrupt your balance. But when you remain steady, it reinforces something they do not want to admit. That emotional control is possible, and they are not practicing it. This is why your calm presence can feel like pressure to chaotic people. Not because you are doing anything aggressive, but because you are not participating in the instability they are used to. You become a reminder that reactions are optional, not automatic. And that realization alone can make people uncomfortable around you. Number 8. People respect what they cannot easily categorize. Human beings are wired to understand things quickly. The mind prefers shortcuts. It likes labels because labels make life easier to process. Friend or stranger, strong or weak, successful or struggling, safe or unsafe. Once someone is placed into a category, people feel like they understand them, even if they only understand a small part. But there are people who do not fit neatly into any box. They do not present a single predictable identity. They do not behave in ways that make them easy to summarize. One moment they may appear quiet and reserved. Another moment they may show sharp confidence or unexpected insight. Sometimes they seem distant, other times extremely aware of everything around them. This mixture creates confusion for people who prefer simplicity, and confusion forces attention. When people cannot easily define you, they start paying closer attention to you. Not always out of admiration at first, but out of curiosity. The mind wants to solve what it cannot label. It keeps observing, trying to find a pattern that makes everything click into place. But when the pattern keeps shifting, something interesting happens. Respect begins to form, even if they do not fully understand why, because uncertainty removes arrogance. People tend to be dismissive of things they think they fully understand. But when they realize they cannot easily predict you, they become more careful in how they interact with you. They start listening more than they speak. They become more thoughtful with their assumptions. Not because you demanded it, but because you disrupted their usual way of categorizing people. This is where quiet respect is born. Not the loud kind that is given in speeches or public praise, but the internal kind that changes how people treat you in small moments. The way they choose their words, the way they pause before judging, the way they reconsider how much they actually know about you. What makes this even more powerful is that most people do not realize they are doing it. They simply feel that you are not easy to define, and they adjust their behavior accordingly. Over time, this creates a presence that feels more complex than average interaction, and complexity commands attention without asking for it. In a world where many people try hard to fit into clear categories just to be understood, the ones who resist easy labeling often end up standing above quiet assumptions, not because they are trying to be mysterious, but because they refuse to shrink themselves into something simple for the comfort of others. Number 9. Distance protects the reputation that familiarity often destroys. One of the most overlooked truths about people is that closeness reveals everything. Not just the good parts. When someone is far away, the mind tends to preserve their best image. Their strengths stay visible, and their flaws stay hidden. But the moment proximity increases, reality starts to take over. Habits become noticeable. Small weaknesses become obvious. Ordinary moments replace the imagined version of them. That is where many reputations quietly change. Distance creates space for admiration. It limits exposure to only selected moments, usually the most impressive or interesting ones. In that limited view, people remain sharp, mysterious, and even admirable. The mind naturally fills in the gaps with positive assumptions because there is not enough information to challenge them. But familiarity removes that gap. When people are around you too often, they begin to see the full picture. Not just the moments you are focused, but also the moments you are tired. Not just when you are confident, but also when you are unsure. Not just when you are performing well, but also when you are simply existing without effort. And that full picture is what turns admiration into realism. The loner experience often avoids this trap without trying to because there is natural distance. People rarely get enough exposure to reduce you into something ordinary. They do not see every detail of your daily life. They do not witness every small reaction or every unfiltered moment. So their perception of you stays partially untouched. This is why some people remain more respected in memory than in constant interaction. It is not that they changed. It is that exposure changed how they are perceived. Too much familiarity removes the mystery that once held attention. Too much access removes the imagination that once elevated them. What remains is reality. And reality is always more human than people expect. But distance keeps a protective layer over that reality. It allows people to hold on to their best interpretation of you without being forced to replace it with ordinary details. It keeps curiosity alive instead of replacing it with routine understanding. It prevents overexposure from flattening what once felt layered and interesting. That is why some connections feel stronger when they are not overused, because the mind is left with space to appreciate rather than space to analyze and reduce. In the end, distance does not just separate people. It preserves the version of them that others are most willing to respect. Number 10. Some people mistake your privacy for superiority. One of the most misunderstood behaviors in people who keep to themselves is privacy. In a world where oversharing has become normal, silence is often misread. When someone does not constantly explain their life, update others on every move, or broadcast their personal details, people start filling the silence with their own interpretations. And most of those interpretations are wrong. Some people assume that privacy means arrogance. Privacy is often misconstrued as superiority, but it primarily relates to peace, focus, and personal control. Many who frequently share feel uncomfortable with those who do not, misinterpreting silence as disdain or superiority, which leads to misunderstandings, especially regarding introspective individuals. These loners often face distorted perceptions. Their calmness is seen as pride, and their independence mistaken for aloofness. However, they simply protect their privacy, contrasting with those dependent on external validation. This introspection can trigger discomfort in others, forcing them to confront their choices and paths in life. Quiet individuals challenge the comfort zones of others without intent, prompting comparisons that can unsettle those who follow societal norms. Consequently, some react with irritation rather than self-reflection. This dynamic emphasizes that the presence of a private person can evoke personal assessments without any competition. Additionally, strong internal boundaries create unspoken standards that others intuitively sense, which can shape interactions. When these boundaries are communicated through calmness and consistency rather than verbal assertions, they command respect. This unique energy can evoke both attraction and frustration, leaving a lasting impact on those they encounter, regardless of their intention. Some individuals evoke complex reactions in others, creating a mix of attraction and agitation. People feel drawn to those who exhibit inner stability, as this represents something they desire for themselves. Your presence resonates with certain qualities, prompting curiosity about your unique way of navigating life. However, this same steadiness can disrupt others' internal narratives, leading to discomfort and tension. The emotional responses are often inconsistent. Admiration can exist alongside unease. Your aura signifies restraint and authenticity, accentuating the struggles of those reliant on external validation. This discord enhances intrigue and promotes deeper introspection. As others observe you, they experience a pull to understand, while grappling with feelings of inadequacy or agitation. Limited access to your energy fosters interpretation, where admiration intertwines with resistance. Ultimately, your existence prompts reflection and highlights contrasts between lifestyles. The resulting energy, steady and non-demanding, amplifies your impact without overt actions. In a society chasing validation, your quiet authenticity remains unforgettable, triggering self-examination among observers. Your presence speaks volumes, reflecting their internal struggles, making you a powerful, enduring influence on those around you. If this entire list has named something you have carried for a long time without ever hearing it put into words, that matters, honor that with an act of support. Go to the link in the pinned comment below. Give what feels right to you. A coffee, a small offering, whatever you can. because what you sow into a mission that reaches people who have spent years being misunderstood, for their quiet returns to you as more of the recognition you found here today. And share this with someone you know who carries this same quiet weight. Be the reason they finally hear it described out loud. The link is pinned.